I think that day, what did we do, like 230K? AI won't save you if you have no idea what you're doing.
The dudes I met who are doing crazy numbers here in Dubai, 8-9 figures a year, they pay their team like a huge amount of money. 5 figures, 6 figures, they're not afraid to pay that.
We would write these massive storyboards with film this exactly and say this exactly, and we did that for like hundreds and hundreds of ads, and it just didn't work.
There's one guy I spoke to, his whole creative team is just one media buyer. He scaled to net 7 figures profit a month. Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. So in this podcast, we've been interviewing people doing from 7 to 9 figures a year e-commerce. So for today, we have a special guest all the way from Canada. It's actually my business partner, Spencer. The secret sauce behind us hitting those 6-figure days. So Spencer, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, what's going on, man? It's good to be in Dubai. I actually wasn't supposed to be here, so I'm glad that I came. But yeah, I mean, for the people that don't know me, like Sean said, we're partners at Evolve and at the agency, and we've known each other for 4+ years now, and we've just been trying to figure it out in the trenches, man. And my story is nothing crazy, just kind of jumped into the eCom space, and I think together what's cool is like we kind of have the same story because like we were just trying to figure it out the whole time. So yeah.
What's interesting? Tell a bit about how we met.
Oh gosh. Well, we met because I had no idea what I was doing, and I signed a client that at the time was doing about, and hopefully he doesn't watch this, but he probably won't. But he was doing about 200K a month with his Shopify brand, and he was spending I think 2K a day, which to me was like crazy. And I signed this brand, and he actually signed me because I was Canadian. He had a hockey brand, and so he was, shout out to Canada. But I had a media buyer at the time, and we just could not figure out how to get results for him. But the thing was, this was like right when iOS hit, and so really like the results were kind of the same, but it's just inside of Facebook, the metrics look terrible. And so I was scrambling around trying to figure out, okay, who's gonna help me, figure this out. Stumbled upon this guy over in Malaysia. I think he had like a 5-star rating.
Yeah,
I think he had a 5-star rating
Upwork.
on Upwork. And I hit you up, and then I remember I think the one thing that stood out for me was out of like I felt like I interviewed a lot of people. I think I interviewed like 6. But you were like the only dude that asked me questions, and you're like, what's in it for me? Like, is this gonna be this? Blah 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 blah. And to me that really stood out, and I was like, man, this guy's dialed in. And you claimed that you had 3 years of experience, which maybe there was some truth to that. But that's how we met. And then from there we hired you to help on that client, and we tried 1-day click campaigns, and that did nothing. And from there, we just decided to stick together and ride it out. But that's the origin story. Shout out to Upwork.
Shout out to Upwork, bro. Bro, I studied, I asked the right questions, here we are.
A couple of years later, man.
What's funny is when Spencer first hired me to go on that account, we were trying a lot of different media buying tactics, EBO, CBO, 1-day click, 7-day click, etc. We couldn't crack it until like 1 year later. The only real thing that cracked it was just better creatives. So we're going to talk a lot more about how to get those better creatives to really scale your e-commerce brand. So Spencer, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's go.
So for those of you guys that don't know, we just hosted our first Evolve Mastermind. It was sick. Maybe pop up some photos on that. Maybe a couple.
Here and
there
there.
you go. You can see it on there. There was, I think, over 10 plus people there doing over $1 million a month. Some heavy hitters, savages. And what I have on my phone is the whiteboard that we didn't get through from all the questions
Too much sauce
that they asked. So today, like Sean said, we're going to start with the creative side of things, because this is a question that we didn't get to because I was just yapping about hiring the whole time. But yeah, the first question that came from the mastermind was let's start with market awareness, because that was one of the questions is creatives, how do you apply market awareness to them? What is market awareness, and why does it matter?
Yeah. So market awareness, basically, when people talk about things like top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel, it's a similar concept. It goes from most aware, almost unaware, basically just to most aware. So why we use those terms is because it's important to know how to position your creatives. For example, if you were to sell something for knee pain, okay, there's a lot of ways you can sell it for knee pain. Is it for someone who is currently having knee pain or already trying other products? They want to see which one is the best, or maybe they don't even know they have knee pain yet, but they have a hinge on whether it is knee pain or not. And it is very important because how you position your messaging will basically determine who you target. And it's very important to know who you exactly want in your ads. If not, they won't really perform as well. So that's what market awareness stages are. The thing with market awareness stages is it is fluid. There's no one set market awareness stage that will work 100% for you. You can sell a certain product, you can do unaware. Well, people will do things like VSLs, funnels, advertorials, all the way to, product aware, for example. Product aware just means that people already know about the product. They just want to see which one is the best, basically. Then you do things like comparison ads. So whenever you see people, post like, best ad formats or whatever it is, it most often is out of context, right? Like people say, this format is the best, this format is the best. It's not really true. It depends what is your messaging, should you position it, and how you figure it out. Of course, one, you need to test. Second thing is just through research. Based on your research, how sophisticated your customers are is where you should be. But there's no set one that can work. You can make your product work in any stage of market awareness.
100%. And I think for us, something that we've realized too, just as we've been trying to crack scale for clients, like that can change based on the market as well. Like I tell the story of one of our brands that, had a incident happen in the hockey. Again, we still have hockey clients, but there's an incident that happened in the hockey market, and we were really trying to go after this problem awareness level. But as soon as that incident happened, where there was a very serious skate cut, I think that day, what did we do? Like 230K or something like that. Yeah. And that just made everybody so much more aware of the product, or more or less of the problem. And then they started looking for different solutions. And then that's, I think for us, something when I was struggling to understand market awareness at first, that made it make sense. Because when you're trying to apply this stuff in the beginning, it can be hard. But just know, I think one thing that has helped me as well is unaware is usually like the most scalable ads, but they're the hardest to do. And then product or brand aware are usually the easier ads to do, but you have to make sure that when I say easy, you have to do them extremely well. But for example, we have one of our biggest brands is very, very product aware during Q4, Q1. And so for us, a huge focus during that period is product aware stuff. But market awareness, I think, really changed the game for us. So I think this is something that anybody, when it comes to like marketing fundamentals, this is like one of the best things that you can start to apply, and you just kind of have to practice there. Remember those calls that we used to do? We were like, what awareness level is this? Like we had no idea. But if you do it enough times, usually you start to figure it out and you start to see some trends. So
for sure.
Cool. The next question I have around creative specifically is how do you do them fast? The question was around speed. Like how do you keep intent, because obviously we've talked a lot about intent, but how do you move quickly? Because there's obviously kind of opportunity cost when you're moving very, very slow, but how do you do high intent creatives fast? Is there a way to do them?
Yeah, I spoke to the person who asked this question actually, and for him specifically, the problem was that a lot of his ideas were coming through things like brainstorming or ideas on his head. So if you weren't feeling creative that day, you can't get anything done, and that was his problem. So for us, all of our creative ideas mainly come from ideas, which you do market research, go on Reddit, go on TikTok, etc. From there, you just scroll and you get ideas. So if you're struggling with ideas, the main thing you should be doing is just research itself. As for moving fast, actually script writing, putting it into action. My main advice is it's more of a productivity tip, making sure that, once you know what you should be doing already, you need to time block it into your calendar. So a lot of people, they start their day, I have a big to-do list, I go in my day, but when should I be doing it? A lot of your to-do lists don't actually get done. Put it inside your calendar. 3 to 4 p.m., I'm going to do script writing. 4 to 5 p.m., I'm going to do some video editing. This way, you can set deadlines on when your task should be done. You know what you need to be doing each hour, so you don't slack. And struggling with ideas, do some more research. I think the main one is just time blocking will help you move much quicker.
100%. I would say the only other thing I would add to that, because I think that is the number one cheat code, is actually just setting time to do it. And don't put your phone down. Yeah. Don't be like responding, checking Slack or Discord, any of that stuff. But one thing that we've been doing to really increase our speed, and this is obviously something that we're doubling down on right now, is just leveraging AI, but the right way. I think a lot of people just go into ChatGPT and they're like, write me a great script based around this product. And it's like, that's always going to, inputs or outputs is going to give you trash. But we've been able to develop some prompts recently that have helped us a lot. But the most important thing is AI won't save you, and we've talked about this a ton. It won't save you if you have no idea what you're doing. Like if you don't understand what a good headline is, and again, good is what performs, but that's a other topic. If you don't know the marketing fundamentals, awareness levels, you don't understand, what is a good creative, or you don't understand how to process learnings, AI is just going to multiply trash. And so the thing is you still need to learn this. You still need to go deep and understand a lot of the fundamentals and learn how to make winning ad creatives on your own. But once you've kind of gotten better at that, I think AI with the right prompting, and the sauce that I'll give to people that are watching this is, examples, like give it examples of your top performing ads, and then also give it examples of ads that didn't work, and have it explain it, and then try to turn those into prompts that you can use to like get scripts written faster. And I would say what our copywriter does, and what she's incredible at, is she does that initially to get like 75% of the script writing done, but then she will still go in and like rewrite it and optimize it based off her her knowledge and her skill set. So I'd say another great way to just increase speed, besides what you said is the number one thing to do. I think number two is leverage AI as well to try to optimize it as well.
Yeah, we're going to that. AI is going to be huge in 2025, right? So are there any tools you recommend to people, or anything people should be doing more in 2025 with AI?
I think everybody always wants like what's the tool that's just gonna like rip it for me? Everybody always looks for that. I think honestly the sauce is to just get really good at using the basic ones. And I think for me, like recently I've started using ChatGPT a lot more. Like I just have it as like the pinned, instead of your iPhone, you have like the little, your quick buttons. I just have ChatGPT there, and I try to use it as much as I can. And something that I didn't know until this year was like, you can take photos of things. This is gonna sound really funny, but like I was playing like a Scrabble game, and I was asking ChatGPT, I took a photo of the board and my letters, and I was like, what words should I put together? And it actually gave me words, which is crazy. Yeah, no. I was playing fair. AI was a lot. But anyway, so like that's just a ridiculous example. But like try to use the basic tools like ChatGPT and Claude more specifically for writing as much as you can every day. Like just ask it questions, right? I think for me, what I've been loving is taking ads or taking examples and asking ChatGPT to like break it down and explain why it's working. That can be a great way as well. If you're trying to understand market awareness level, maybe go and look at one of your competitors' ads, throw it into ChatGPT, and ask it to tell you the desired awareness level, maybe how sophisticated the market is and why it thinks this ad is working. And that can help you learn as well. Now, ChatGPT is not always going to be 100% accurate, but long story short, I think just getting really good at using the basic tools is like the hack. I think there's obviously some great, like one great platform that we've been using recently is called Gigabrain, which is Reddit research on steroids basically. And our creative director, Pawliw, who, if you watch the first podcast that we did, he loves it. Like he's obsessed with it. That's all he rips right now. So I think just learning how to use the basic tools is the sauce for AI. I think a lot of people try to find this magical tool. There is a new tool. We haven't actually, our team is testing it right now. I think it's called icon.me. And it's like this full kind of put together like arcads and arcads is another like AI video generation tool with all these other, ChatGPT, all these other different things, and it can actually like create and edit videos for you as well. So what they're building over there is I think where creative strategy in general is heading is just like an AI that just does everything. It's not quite there yet though, if you ask me, but I think if you're an early mover on that, like those guys are, I mean, they're going to be crushing it once AI starts to catch up a little bit more. But back to my point, I think just leveraging the core tools and getting really good at using them and finding ways to implement them in your workflow and try using it every day is the sauce for sure.
Interesting. When you mean getting better at using the basic tools like GPT, is it more so getting better at prompting, or what do you think it is?
I think prompting, and then also just, for example, if you're spending a lot of time doing something, you could also just ask ChatGPT like, hey, could you do this, right? Like for example, I remember in Sheets, this is just a basic example. It's not a long one, I promise. But I was trying to figure out like a function, or like, I was like, how do I pull like data from this tab of the sheet and put it in here and then create this function? And I just like explained to ChatGPT what I was trying to do, and like in seconds, it told me the exact function and how to do it. And so what would usually take me like an hour of clicking around and messing around and being super unproductive, I just asked ChatGPT, it told me exactly what to do, and I was able to do it in 10 minutes, right? And so that 50 minutes that I saved is for us, is extremely valuable, right? Now, should I be clicking around in Sheets and figuring out functions? Probably not, but just stuff like that, you know what I'm saying? Like just trying to ask it and say like, can AI do this? And a lot of the times it can. But prompting, of course, is like one of the best things that you can get good at as well. If you understand how to use the machine properly, you understand how to communicate with it, the better outputs that you're going to get. I think the reason why most people say that, oh, AI sucks is because they just don't know how to use it. And I've noticed that, again, I gave the example of providing examples to Claude. One little switch like that, I just told the AI, like, hey, make sure you follow these examples specifically. The difference in output was ads that were trash and then ads that for some of our brands are spending 10K a day, right? So I think just, prompting it and then trying to figure out how you can use it in just any day-to-day thing that you're doing.
So if for people who want to build creative teams, then do you think like still hiring people like copywriter, creative strategists, are those still crucial, or would you just get someone who's really good at prompting?
I think I would hire both because, and if you can, obviously, because the thing is like there's a lot of dudes that know AI, but they know nothing about creative strategy and eCom, right? And like where all the magic happens with AI is when those two things cross, like someone who has knowledge of how to use AI and then someone who has knowledge of a specific skill, like that is where the magic really happens. And so I would say it really depends on, I don't want to say where you're at, but like the position that you're in. I think you could use if you're a strategist, which most brand owners are, if you can use AI to multiply your efforts, like that's going to be the best thing that you can do. And then if you just hire someone that knows AI and knows prompting, that's going to be complementary to your skill set. And so that probably makes sense maybe to hire more of a prompting or AI specialist person. And it's actually what we did at the agency, to build our easy AI tool that we're using, right? So hiring someone that knows AI and then combining it with your skill set is a really good thing to do. But that said, I mean, I think there's still a place for copywriters and there's still a place for creative strategists, but they just have to understand how to use the tools as well.
Makes sense.
Cool. The next question I have on here, to go back to the whiteboard that we never answered, creatives, or how do you make creatives at scale? Like how do you start to scale creative production? Because obviously, again, we mentioned there's some heavy hitters at the event that we did, and a lot of them are testing, hundreds of ad creatives a month. But I think for people that are just getting started, it's hard to wrap your head around that, which I think is fine because I think in the beginning it makes sense for you to learn how to do high intent creatives before you scale it. Because like we were talking about, similar to AI, if you're just scaling trash, you're just going to get lots of trash, right? Whereas if you learn how to make winning ads first at low scale and then scale that, it works. But not to answer the question because I want you to answer it. How do you scale creatives and creative output?
Yeah, being in Dubai, meeting all these dudes doing like 9 figures a year, I think the most important thing is keeping things simple. I know dudes, there's one guy I spoke to, his whole creative team is just one media buyer. He scaled to net 7 figures profit a month, which is it's crazy, right? You think you need like crazy teams to scale to such numbers, to scale to such volume, but most importantly is keeping things simple, right? You can be not necessarily it's one person. You can scale to multiple team members as well. For example, there's a guy who runs a 9-figure brand, and all he does is just TikTok shop creators. He doesn't even make his own creatives. He just gets on a call with these creators, tell them, yo, this is what's working. They do their thing. Running on Facebook ads, running on TikTok shop, Snapchat, everything, it works. But it's so simple. It's just based off TikTok shop creators. Even if you want to build a team at scale, right? Making sure that it's not too complex. Yeah, you have your creative strategist, copywriter, whatever. But the most important thing at scale is simple scales, fancy fails, as people would say. So don't try to add too much things. Whatever it is, especially when you guys are building your team out, for us, we are doing a time audit ourselves to see like what other tasks are our creative team doing that they should eliminate. Because we only want them to do like a few tasks, just focus on that, keep everything simple. That's how you really keep your flywheel efficient at scale. Really, it comes down to what do you have leverage on? Do you have leverage on getting your creators? If that's what you're good at, that's your thing. Are you good at hiring and systems? Maybe that's your thing, you hire your creative team. Or moving forward, 2025, it's maybe your thing is you're really, really good at AI. You can just use that to build out, creatives at volume with intent. So many different ways to play it. But for me, I think it's just most important to keep everything simple.
100%. I don't have anything to add, actually. You covered it.
Oh, stole your sauce.
The next question we had on here, so that actually covers a question that we didn't answer, so that was good. Feedback loops. What's a feedback loop?
Yeah, feedback loop is just making sure that whatever you do, basically you learn from. And it's very, very important for any areas of business or in your personal life as well. For example, with your creatives. Oh, your creatives, you done like 100 of them, nothing worked. Do you actually go and back and realize and check, what happened with those creatives? Why didn't they work? Probably not. So if you don't learn from it, you're going to make the same mistakes again. Creatives, even for hiring, oh, you hired this many people, what went wrong with them? Did you track and analyze what went wrong? Probably not. You're going to make the same mistake again. In business, in your personal life, it's very important to complete this feedback loop and really how to figure it out. Just make sure you track everything, right? We've realized that the way we run our whole business in 2024, and Spencer can speak more about it, we don't really track anything. Like when you hire, it's just like, okay, you're in, okay, you're out, okay, that's fine. But it's very important for you guys to know every single number, which is why, if you see any talks with Pawliw, he always stresses, what's this metric? What's this metric? This is very, very important to know. Once you track it, make sure that you go back, review it time to time as well. Make sure you do learnings from it. And that's how you really want to complete the feedback loop.
100%. And I've tried to reframe them to growth loops because I think it's literally the only way that you grow is by completing feedback loops, right? And understanding like, oh, this didn't work. Like, okay, I should stop doing that. Or, oh, this did work. I should do more of this. And I think, like you said, applying it to your personal life is a cheat code. It's like, well, every time I, go out and especially if you're just getting started, it's like, oh, I go out and I party and, I do this and I just play video games all day long. It's like, well, if you keep doing that, you're going to be not getting the results, especially if you're someone that wants to, maybe scale and start a brand or something like that, right? More for like the beginners. But back to business stuff, I think for like a really great example of like our feedback loop or our growth loop that we did really well was with our UGC, right? Remember when we hired that creative strategist and we thought she was going to like take us to the next level and we were like, holy, like we've got it cracked, and it's because we saw, maybe someone watching this sees what we're doing with our creatives and they try to copy us, right? And I saw, I don't want to maybe name call anyone, but I saw the YouTubers out there saying how they do their UGC and I was like, I've just got to do UGC, that's it. And so we ended up paying all these creatives. I remember looking back, like we hired some of these creatives for like $400 or $500 and they were trash. And we would write these massive storyboards with film this exactly and say this exactly. And we did that for like hundreds and hundreds of ads and it just didn't work. And we did that for, 2 or 3 months or something like that. And it could have been super easy for us to just not really like pick our head up. And I think that's what we've gotten a little bit better at now is we notice when things are, because there's a period of times where you have to test things to get quote unquote statistical significance. You know what I'm saying? But at some point you have to realize like, this isn't working. Like I probably need to do something different. And then we made that change, right? And then we stopped, doing scripted UGC and all this kind of stuff. And then we just switched into frameworks and product seeding. And literally within the first 10 creators we hired, we had like 2 winning ads from it, right? So it was like, oh, and then again, apply the feedback loop again. We realized, oh, this is working. Let's do more of this, right? And so I think that's it's such a overlooked thing. But to what you said, I don't need to rant on it anymore. Like we did not track anything, so you have to know your numbers and not just everybody knows their ROAS, everybody knows their their total sales or their conversion rate, but like they don't actually track all of the other boring metrics like what's your ad hit rate, how long does it take you to make an ad, all of like the leading indicators rather than lagging. And so I think that's something that really, as I've spoken to some operations people this year, met them at events, it's really helped me unlock that and understand like there's things that you should be tracking that get you those goals or get you the KPIs that you care about rather than just focusing on my ROAS is down. Why? It's like, well, dude, you tested 100 creatives last month, they all missed, you didn't review any of them, like you haven't changed. So feedback loops are, I think, a super boring thing, but again, like it's so important to apply to actually be able to scale.
Yes, adding on to that as well. Okay, there's a period where we thought, we figured out feedback loops ourselves. We did review all the ads, the learnings, but like we did the review, but we weren't actually learning. I think a lot of people fall into that. So an example is, okay, we've reviewed an ad. Let's say the ad says, this certain, like if you make it organic, make the ads organic, it will perform much better. And then what we realized is we review more losing ads and the same learning pops up. Not organic, but damn. That means we didn't actually learn on anything at the start.
We didn't grow.
We didn't grow. That's right. So what you learn as well, it's important to take these learnings that you do from tracking into actual plan of actions. Okay, let's say your ad wasn't organic enough. Let's say you create a prompt. Every time you run an ad, before you finish it, pass it on to your team to make the edits or whatever, ask yourself, is this ad organic or not? If it's not, you already know based on history it doesn't do well, rewrite it again. So making sure you put it into plan of actions.
100%. Learning times action equals growth. We were doing a lot of learning, just not a lot of action. That's a big problem. All right, we're going to talk about one here that this is going to be an all you question. Hopefully you can answer it. How do you go about testing products? Do you have a process for that, or do you know what people do that have scaled? What's product testing look like for people that are wanting to get into it?
Yeah, product testing, a lot of people overcomplicate it. There's a lot of different ways you can go about it. I will say the best and fastest method I've seen dudes in their first year of eCom, scale to 100K days, multiple of them evolve. Really is just what's working on TikTok Shop, okay? Use that product, you can develop some creative to test if you want, but really, TikTok Shop is basically just product testing at mass. You can see what's working well organic, what people already like, just put it to Facebook ads. There's not much to say beyond that, because that really is the cheat code. A lot of people say, you want to start brands now, okay, should I be unprofitable at the start, profitable at the start? How should it actually be? But really, if you just go on TikTok Shop, take whatever is working there on Facebook ads, chances are you'll be profitable upfront. From there, you can actually brand it out, custom packaging, custom formulas, etc. That's how I would approach testing products and starting a brand right now. Of course, that's just the fastest and easiest way. Doesn't mean that everyone will have the same experience. There's a lot of things you can do, right? For example, if you are good at, really good at marketing, for example, the top dogs, what they will do, they will just go to somewhere that's already quote unquote saturated, take the same product, make it a bit better, new mechanisms that make people feel like it's a new thing, dominate the market. Or if you guys actually have the capital already, you have the experience working with other e-commerce stores, you start a completely brand new brand, like Breeze, for example, right? Crushing it. It's a completely custom formula they started from scratch. So many different ways to play it. The question is, what is your leverage? What is your skill set? If you're more beginner level, you haven't really scaled a big brand up, chances are I'll recommend you to do the kilo data method. Just go on kilo data, see what's trending on TikTok Shop. That will be the best one.
And I think for at least the people in Evolve that I've seen like absolutely crushing it is they're just good marketers. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of these guys have a lot of other problems that they need help with, we tell them to go hire, to help with those problems or get coaching or consulting on those problems as well. But it's just, they just understand how to market. And it's like I think that's just the number one skill that you need to learn is marketing. Even a good example is Evolve. Like we made Evolve, and it was just supposed to be, for our team. And it wasn't until you were going out and marketing it. And then of course we, started getting a couple people coming through the program, and then word of mouth started taking off as well. But until you started marketing it, I remember I was like begging people to join. I was like, just, a couple $100, like, cause the OGs know we started at like $400 a month. Right. And, I think that is just like, we had a great product, and I think we have a great product, from the people and the results that we've gotten from the program, but it wasn't until we actually got good at marketing it, or you got good at marketing it, because I was out there saying the same stuff, or basically saying what we were doing, but then you took it, you packaged it, and you started marketing it your own way, which I think, again, just emphasizes like authenticity. But like what you did, dude, over on Twitter, being able to position it and market it is like, Evolve wouldn't be what it is without you doing that. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, and on top of that, a lot of people wouldn't have even known about it, or wouldn't have even been able to go through it. And so I think like the best skill set that you can get, and you're just a great example of like, you teach people marketing, but you're also phenomenal at it, right? You practice what you preach. And so I think for a lot of people, if you're wanting to get going in drop shipping, or you're wanting to like start testing products and doing this stuff, I think you really need to understand how to market as well. Like marketing is by far the most valuable skill that you can have, because you can literally learn how to sell anything.
Yeah. Some people will come up to me and say, I have a crazy good product, I made it better, everything. But if you don't know how to market, even if you have the best product, it doesn't really matter.
100%.
Right? You can see like a lot of people sell like shitty products, but they still do very well with it. Another example, I think one of our clients gave us of the MP3 example. You remember that? Mm-hmm. Tell them about it, MP3.
Well, yeah, it was the first, a lot of people don't know this, but like the first MP3 ever made was not by Apple, right? It was not, everybody thinks the iPod or like the whatever, what was it the iPod, or was it one before that?
I think.
Whatever that was, yeah. I remember them. I mean, little scroll reel.
Yeah,
that was, loved it. But anyway, they weren't the first people that actually made it. It was actually made, I think, our client told us, over in Korea or something like that, right? And then what happened was Apple, rather than saying like, oh, this fancy technical stuff, all these features, what did Apple do? They just said 1,000 songs in your pocket. and boom, the unlock was there. It's like they nailed the desire, they nailed the main benefit of what, like the actual use case of it, right? They weren't talking about all these different, like however how many gigabytes and all this other crap. It was just 1,000 songs in your pocket, and like I actually got goosebumps thinking about that. It's like that is just like insane. Like that's marketing, and that just absolutely blew them up, and that's what made the the MP3 super famous. So yeah, I mean that's literally probably the best example, because there was mechanisms out there where people were carrying CDs around, these massive CDs, and these obviously people still wore headsets, but it wasn't until that ad came out and it was marketed in a way that people actually understood, and most importantly that people cared about. And I think I had a conversation with a guy in Evolve about this, where like a lot of times we're just talking about all about us and like all of the cool things that we do, but like that ad is such a great example of it's all about the customer. It's 1,000 songs in your pocket, right? Not look at me and look at what we did with this cool technology and product. It's all about the customer. And I think focusing more on the customer is one of the best hacks to actually get better at marketing. Like look at your ads and review them and be like, does someone who doesn't know me and doesn't care about me, like would they care about this ad? Or would this be beneficial to them? And a lot of people's ads aren't, right? Everybody's always just talking about themselves because we love to talk about ourselves, right? But you have to be very, very focused on the customers when you're creating those ads.
It's like a lot of people will come to us and say, hey, I made this competitor ad better, other one was shit, but mine didn't do well.
Yeah.
It's like
their ad is performing, my ad's not, but mine's better, I promise.
Oh, it's better in whose eyes, right? Your eyes are the customer. And the more I get into e-commerce, the more I see that the things that scale are super, super simple. From the creatives to people's teams, it's like, look at creatives, some of them are just image ads with headlines, you do 6 figure days. You're like, damn, how? It's really what do your customers care about? How can you make it as clear, as simple as possible? And that really is marketing.
How about, to pivot here, transitioning from drop shipper or, and the thing is like drop shipping is just a method of fulfillment. It's not actually like a business. I think the actual thing is transitioning from like not caring about, just kind of like a pump and dump store is what some people say. I would say transitioning from just a store or a Facebook ad store to a brand. Like how do you do that? How do you start to take your store seriously and start to brand it in a way? Like what is the process for doing that?
Yeah, and the analogy I always like to give people is this, right? You have 2 stores. Imagine you have a quote unquote brand, custom product, logo, stock, everything. You're doing like 10K a month. But then you're still drop shipping, even if it's a Chinese product, you do 10 million a month, customers are happy to keep coming back. Which one is more of a brand? The one that does less with custom, or the one that does a lot more customers come back, but it's still drop shipping? Right? It's probably the one that's going to be doing more, customers keep coming back. So how do you actually go from transitioning to like your quote-unquote dropshipping store to a brand? There's a lot of different ways about it. Of course, the most important thing we care about is customers' satisfaction and whether they come back or not. That's a big part of brand. I think brand is just how you build moat around yourself. You can do that through multiple ways. If you had a super crazy product, like super custom, no one can touch it, that's your moat. Maybe that can be your brand. Or just through your marketing. You see so many people sell the same exact shit, whether that's IPL lasers, Shilajit supplements, like tons of stores selling the same exact thing, but yet each of them have their own moat, right? It might be Shilajit for testosterone, but testosterone, one brand is for older dudes, one brand is for younger dudes. Building your moat around that is your first thing. That's how you build your moat, your brand. After that, you transition into different things. Transition into, okay, how do you build community after that? You look at brands like Opv, for example, or Represent. Right? Opv is a good example. Okay, right now they have a big community of people inside. They engage with their customers, they keep them involved, etc. So whatever they do, the customers always like what they do. So even without running ads, they still have their moat. They run an email, come out, people still buy their products. That's, I think, what brand really is. If you can build your moat around it, that's the first step. Then later on, building your community around it. Imagine, look at Apple, bro. Apple fanboys are crazy. Any product that come out, although it's shit, you're like, oh my god, it's the latest thing. They have brand, right? They have authority over that thing. I think these are the two steps. I feel. But Spencer, anything to add on to that?
Yeah, I think and this is the Hormozy definition for it, but brand is just association. You know what I mean? So like trying to find the best ways to make your customer have positive associations with your company, right? And like that's how you build brand. And like you said, that can be done through product, that can be done through community, right? That can be done through a lot of different things. And I think one of my favorite examples recently, and we talked about this, or we broke this down inside of our the Evolve call a couple weeks ago, was the brand called Bro Glow,
Yep.
right? Like they sell fake tan, which girls have been using for, I don't know, a long time, right? All they did was they just found a new avatar, right? And then they branded everything around that avatar. So I think one of the best ways to build brand is just picking an avatar and picking a specific, type of person to be relatable to. I actually had a conversation with a guy from the Skool Games event, and he wanted to start a supplement company. He's like, yeah, I want to do a creatine line and this line and, all these like super, super sophisticated products. Like there are so many types of creatines and proteins and yada, 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 right? But I told him, I was like, well, you could focus, for example, a supplement line for specifically entrepreneurs because he's an entrepreneur, right? And now all of a sudden you're building brand just by focusing on a specific type of person. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I think that honestly is one of the best ways to build brand and probably one of the easiest because you're really just focusing on a specific group of people that identify as some kind of label, right? And so that example of Bro Glow is, hey, we sell fake tan. Nothing really unique about the product. It's fake tan. Like, I mean, they did actually develop the product and made it kind of more natural or specific for guys or whatever it was. But the point is they were just like, hey, we're taking this product that everybody kind of knows about or most people know about and focusing it just on dudes, right? Just on guys. And that has built them a brand. They built their whole brand just around a specific type of avatar, right? White dudes that are super pasty and they need to look more tanned, right? Or maybe they can tan, right? They turn into tomatoes, whatever it is. But I just think that's a great example of like building brand, or like maybe even just a first step to trying to build brand, and just being known for something. Like I think we see even Twitter is a really, really good example of like how to build brand and like kind of a different. I think the examples that you gave were perfect, but just to try to maybe run this home for people that understand, because obviously there's probably been a lot of people that have seen you on Twitter, but it's like you've branded yourself in a specific way, and I want you to maybe talk about that, but there's certain people on Twitter that are just known by these identities, right? And I think brand really is just having an identity that people, it's more than just the product, right? People, like you said, buy into Apple not because of just the product alone, it's because of what Apple represents, right? And the one thing that I'll say is like building brand takes time. And I think most people that are drop shipping, ripping creatives, ripping products, all that kind of stuff, they're very impatient, right? Like they're thinking, how can I make, $100,000 today or this year, right? Rather than thinking, how can I make, $100 million in the next 10 years, right? That's very hard for people to think through. And so back to the brand point, it takes time to build brand. And so you really have to commit to it and you have to make sure that everything you do builds brand. Your emails, your ads, your products, how the communities that you build, the avatars you go after, it's like it all kind of, it's like a giant conglomerate of associations. And so what I was going to say though is for your Twitter brand is like, were you intentionally building a brand or do you feel like this has just kind of happened over time?
Yeah, to that point, right? It all stems from good marketing. Going back to drop shipping a bit, right? People struggle from going from drop shipping stores to brand because they don't know how to get good at marketing. Like you said, picking one specific avatar, right? Knowing like who exactly you're targeting, what their desires are. If you build something around that, that's how you build your mode, your associations, your brand. Even marketing goes to everything, right? You build brands not just on products alone, even personal brands. I've spoken to a lot of dudes as well. You'll be surprised, like Luke Balmar as well. The things he says, you see all these memes, but they're all very, very intentional. Myself as well. You come up with things like that makes you stand out. Mm-hmm. Of course, unique mechanisms, right? For people might know me as like the Ching Chong chat scaler, 100K per day guy, button clicker. Those things weren't things I just randomly
your grandma's Facebook ad strategy.
Those things were done intentionally, right? You need to have a unique mechanism, things that make you stand out from the competition. Besides that, you need to know exactly who you're targeting. My target audience on Twitter is not dudes who are just starting. My content is catered towards people specifically who are doing over 100K per month. If not, the things I'll talk about are very different. In your ads as well, right? Are you just talking to, for knee pain for people who just started feeling it, or have they been going through it for a long time already? Which one? Because your avatar is very, very different. So since I know who my exact persona is, I can craft my messaging around that. If you keep hammering it long enough, people will know you as that guy. Oh, you're the guy who does this.
Yep.
So that's how you build brand, personal brand, marketing brand, ecom brand, same thing.
Yeah, this is great, man. I think the only other question that I had on here was around incentives, but I think we talked a bit about that. But I do want to talk about one thing, you know who I'm talking about, the media buyer guy who said, he pays one dude on his team every month over $200,000.
Yeah.
And I think that's been maybe one of my big takeaways from talking to some of these dudes is they're just not scared to pay people. Like I think some people, like the thought of paying someone 200K is like, oh my gosh, but if that person you pay 200K makes you an M, it's a pretty good trade-off.
Yeah.
Every month, 4X, 5X ROAS. What would that be, return on person? I think a lot of these big guys, they're just not scared to pay people, right? And they have clear-cut incentives and they're hit. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's how we've talked about this kind of, maybe not so much on camera, but off camera, about like how you find the best talent. It's like the best talent wants that. You're like, you should want your team to win and be crushing it and basically getting as rich or getting as wealthy as you are, right? Like that is the goal. And I think being here, seeing that, it kind of broke a belief. I was like, oh yeah, like I'd be fine paying someone 20, 30K a month, but 200K a month, it's like, there's just levels to it, but at the same time, he's doing M's, right? And so I don't know. I the reason why I bring that up is because I think so many people, we actually had a client that, I think who I'm talking about, our Google client, where they're like, they wanted a creative strategist, video editor. They wanted this literal unicorn hire and their budget was like 2K a month. It's like, bro, like so many people, they have these crazy high expectations, but they just don't actually understand like what it takes to find someone like that, or they don't actually have the roadmap to get someone to have massive potential to earn a lot of money. And so anyway, the final one on here, I don't know if you want to add to it, it's just the incentives. I think we don't need to maybe talk about structures, but just your thoughts on incentives itself and why you think they're so important.
Yeah. For exact incentive structure, get kept secret, too bad. But a lot of like drop shippers, they're very cheap for some reason. It's like, damn, okay, you're making $1 million a month already. Just to hire like an additional CS assistant, it's like $1,000 a month. Oh, or drop shippers, right? Okay. Oh, guys, my customer service is so expensive. They're charging me $6 an hour now. With $6 an hour, it's chill. So I'm very surprised as well, right? The dudes I met who are doing crazy numbers here in Dubai, 8-9 figures a year, they pay their team like a huge amount of money, bro. Like 5 figures, 6 figures, they're not afraid to pay that. And it's important for you when you want to hire good members as well, making sure that you have a clear like incentive, or not just monetary, on growth opportunities as well. I think that's the most important thing that I've learned. We've known about this in the back of our heads, but like going to these network events, seeing our ideas validated across different people at scale, is very, very interesting for me.
Yeah, 100%. Well, do you have anything else you want to jam on?
In terms of things to jam on, well, Spencer, you've met a lot of 7 to 9 figure entrepreneurs here yourself, all the way from Canada. You flew out. What were your main takeaways besides what we just talked about?
Yeah, like I said, incentives was a big one. I think for me as well is also just, making sure that you're listening. I think a lot of times I'm a talker. I talk a lot, but it's very humbling to be around dudes and like a lot of these dudes that are just, they're just casually doing, 5, 6, 7 million a month with their brands. And sometimes they're like the quietest dudes in the room. And you would never know it. And I think for me, it's just every time I go to these events, it's a reminder to like shut up a little bit and like listen to what these people are saying. And so I think being a really good listener, like it's a skill in itself. And even, going back and watching the footage of the event, there was a dude in there, like who we've talked about, a lot on this podcast right now, but, doing a couple million a month, and he was locked in, like listening to what I was saying. Like, I don't personally have a brand doing 10 million a month right now. He does. And there he is locked in listening to what I have to say. Right. And I think just kind of shredding ego and being like, there's always something to learn from anyone. Right. And you also, had a dude who was very well known message and ask you for some tips on stuff. Right. It's like always be learning. And like make sure you just have no ego with that. And I think that for me, even coming out here, to meet some of these people was a reminder, because I know that, but I think at the same time seeing how just locked in these guys are on like wanting to accumulate, like get more knowledge, basically accumulate more skills, and see, like, they're always paying attention to see if there's something they can learn. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons why they are where they are, because they're constantly listening, and they don't care. Like some dude could be doing 10K a month, but if he's talking about something that's valuable, they're going to pick it up, right? And so yeah, I think that's one of my other biggest takeaways, is just listening more and trying to listen better. But
Yeah. We've met a lot of entrepreneurs here, right, doing different numbers. I noticed as well, even on in person and Twitter as well, a lot of people, they get to a certain stage where that's multi-six figures a month, 10K a day, they think they'll know it all. Then whatever advice is like, oh, you suck. Or you go on Twitter in person, they said, oh, cost caps work, your method sucks. But damn, which one makes the most money? I don't really care, right? And what's the craziest thing that happened to me? There was this eCom brand owner who messaged me, okay? He wanted to apply, ask me to mentor him. So this guy, he does multiple 9 figures a year, not just 100, multiple 9 figures. He has a full team just to go and research on Reddit, on TikTok, on YouTube, on Twitter, all the ecom information out there, compile it out for him, any mentorships that he should join. But he's already doing multi 9 figures a year. The thing is this, right? Even if he picks up one small thing from me or whoever it is, that can 10x his business. Even from people who are doing lower numbers to people who are doing bigger numbers, there's always something that you can learn from them. So making sure that you're always humble, always making sure that you are, like Spencer said, actively listening, even though people are doing lower or bigger numbers, it doesn't really matter. There's something that you can learn from everyone. That's the most important thing that I've learned. And whenever I meet entrepreneurs doing like 9 figures a year or even more, that's the thing I've noticed about them. Whenever you talk to them, they're always very, very curious, always very humble. And they might not be the flashiest people you see around. My buddy who was telling me, he hosted an event here last year. I think it was at the Atlantis, the Royal, in the Palm, fancy place. There was a billionaire who showed up. He showed up, short slippers, no one talked to him. So for you guys as well, you go on Money Twitter, you see people flexing everything. But sometimes it's the silent ones who are doing the craziest things. So making sure that you treat everyone the same, stay humble. That's how you learn and grow.
And connect.
Connect!
Always connect. All right. Well, for anybody that's made it this long, maybe we get into some personal questions. What's been your favorite part of Dubai so far since we've been here?
The favorite part of Dubai, obviously, for me, it's just seeing all the wealth around here. I think everyone here can agree, right? You guys think doing 100K a day, good numbers, bro. Yeah, dude's doing $1 million profit a day here. You're nothing. And it's a good environment to be for me. Especially after Q4, you come here, we be humble again. Maybe go again. That's my biggest one. What about yours?
I'm going to go random here. I think seeing how actually tall the Burj Khalifa was,
Okay.
I still don't understand that. Like, anybody that has not been to Dubai, like, everyone's like, oh, it's tall, right? You're there and you're like, bro, that thing is, I don't know. Dear June's probably going to laugh at me, but I think I said how big it was 100 times. That was sick to see here. And then I think another super random one is I had, like the Dubai chocolate bars.
Yeah.
Today, literally, I kind of snuck it in. I ordered a Dubai chocolate donut.
Okay.
Bro.
Crazy?
Oh, yo, that thing was so good.
Or even tell me about it.
Bro, I snuck it in there, man. I was too embarrassed. Now I'm airing it out. But, bro, it was like a donut, and the inside was like the, kanaf, right? I don't know what it's called, but that was bussin'. But, yeah, I mean, other thing about Dubai, I think, is, just seeing how cool of a city is. And, like, I feel like the energy here is just very, like, you just constantly want to level up. I know there's been a lot of people that have said, all different kinds of things about Dubai. It's my first time here, but I think, the energy here is pretty crazy, man. Like, I feel like it breaks a lot of beliefs. And I think, even not to talk about something other than Dubai, but like with Evolve, I think that's been one of the biggest things for like the feedback that we've got is like dudes come in here, like you said, doing 100K per month, or 200K per month, thinking they're like top shit or like, top dogs. And then they jump into a community like Evolve and they check the wins channel and some dude just popped 140K day in there and they're like, oh shit. And so it's like, I think surrounding yourself in like an environment of savages is just Like it's the best thing you can do, man. Because it one breaks belief, but two just makes you want to level up. You're like, man, like I gotta level up a little bit. And like even us is like, dude, we feel like we're
Yeah.
doing pretty good, but I'm just like, dude, like now we've been talking about, obviously starting brands and building brands and stuff like that too after meeting some of these guys out here. But yeah, I think outside of the Burj, the Dubai donut, and that Dubai's been cool, man. I definitely would recommend it for people who haven't been yet.
Awesome. So do you think it's overhyped or does it live up to its hype?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't think it's, I don't really pay too much attention. Like, my girlfriend would laugh at me, but it's like, she always has to tell me like what's trending or like what's happening. I just don't pay a lot of attention to what's going on in like social, to be honest. But I don't know if, I think it's kind of like in the middle. Like, I don't think it's like overhyped or like, underwhelming. I'm just like, it's just a cool place so far. Like the weather's nice. There's water. We were on a yacht, it's been chill. The city is sick though. Like every building is freaking massive. So, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I guess it's in the middle. I don't want to say it's mid, but it's definitely a cool city. Like you've never been, it's a cool city for sure.
Yeah, but being here breaks a lot of limiting beliefs, like you said. And I mean, wherever you are, whether you want to be in Dubai, Miami, wherever you want to be, right? I think it's important for you to surround yourself with, a good network of people who are doing ahead of you, people who are doing same numbers as you. Doesn't really matter. Just people who can push you and motivate you, right? If not, if you're too comfortable, you think you're doing good numbers, you will never really grow unless you're surrounded by people who are doing a lot more. So I think that will be the end of our podcast.
That's it, man. That was awesome.
We're too far away, but
Appreciate you, bro.
of course.